They say that she abandoned him. That's his excuse, that his ex-wife abandoned him.
For years, Doug Weiss has kept quiet about the true cause of Marcus Lamb's death. But now, he's finally broken his silence, and the truth is shocking. What has Doug been hiding, and why has he decided to speak out now? His revelation has shocked the Christian community and raised more questions than answers. How did Marcus really die, and what details did Doug reveal that no one expected? The truth can change everything, and Joni Lamb's reaction to these revelations will be explosive. Stay tuned to find out what Doug Weiss has learned about Marcus Lamb's death and how it is tearing the Lamb family apart. Rumors surrounding the death of Marcus Lamb. The death of Marcus Lamb, the founder of Daystar Television Network, shocked the world. For many years, Marcus and his wife Joni had been the faces of Christian media, with Daystar becoming one of the most influential Christian networks globally. However, when Marcus passed away suddenly from complications related to COVID-19, rumors began to swirl almost immediately. While the official cause of death was stated as COVID issues, some speculated there was more to the story. Whispers began circulating that Marcus had been battling health problems long before the virus took his life. Some claimed he had been privately struggling with other illnesses, possibly related to his heart or a condition he had been hiding from the public eye. There were even rumors that he had been battling addiction in secret, a stark contrast to the image of health and vitality he portrayed in public. Given his status and influence, many found it hard to believe that such a prominent figure could have been hiding personal struggles, fueling the gossip even more. In addition to questions about his health, there were also murmurs about the Lamb family's internal dynamics. Some wondered if Marcus's death was not as straightforward as it seemed. Was there tension within the family? Had there been issues in his marriage to Joni that could have played a role in his sudden decline? There were even theories that suggested external pressure from Daystar's massive growth had taken a toll on his well-being. The biggest question on everyone's minds was why Marcus's death was so sudden and why there seemed to be little time for the public or his family to prepare. Some speculated that there was more going on behind the scenes, perhaps involving financial issues, health neglect, or family strife. The Lamb family's silence after his death only added fuel to the fire, leading many to wonder if they were hiding the true circumstances of Marcus's passing. While Joni and the family maintained a dignified silence, the public couldn't stop speculating. Every new detail, no matter how small, only made the situation more mysterious. Was the official story about Marcus's death the full truth, or were there secrets hidden beneath the surface? The rumors surrounding his death have continued to grow, leaving the public wondering if they will ever know the full story behind the beloved media mogul's sudden passing.
We turn now to Texas, where controversial Christian television CEO Marcus Lamb has died after his battle with COVID-19. The conservative televangelist making headlines this past year after his network Daystar dedicated hours of broadcasts to anti-lockdown and anti-vaccination activists and groups. NBC News correspondent Maura Barrett has the story.
They don't even know what is in the shot.
Marcus Lamb, a broadcaster reaching hundreds of millions of people around the world and who vocally opposed the COVID-19 vaccine, died after battling the virus. He often spread misinformation on his network, which was one of the most popular channels with evangelical Christians in the country.
They're giving shots to people that are already compromised with their immune system.
And I wasn't going to cry, but
His wife announcing the news of his passing on Tuesday.
this morning at 4 a.m., the president and founder of Daystar and the love of my life went to be with Jesus.
Yeah.
Marcus Lamb's career and his marriage to Joni Lamb. Marcus Lamb's career was nothing short of remarkable. He founded Daystar Television Network in 1993, and over the years it grew into one of the largest Christian TV networks in the world. His passion for spreading the message of faith was evident in everything he did, from his early days in ministry to his role in Daystar's rapid rise to prominence. Marcus was known for his charismatic leadership and his ability to connect with audiences around the globe. He built the network on the principles of faith, family, and outreach, and he became a beloved figure in the Christian community. Alongside Marcus was his wife, Joni Lamb, who played an equally vital role in the creation and success of Daystar. Joni was not just his partner in marriage, but also in business. Together, they worked tirelessly to build Daystar into the influential platform it became, using their joint vision to spread the message of hope and love. Joni's role in the network's success was undeniable, as she became the face of many programs, and she was a constant presence on the airwaves, offering both inspiration and insight to viewers. Their partnership was admired by many, and they often presented a united front, both professionally and personally. Their marriage was seen as a model of Christian values, and the couple's love for each other seemed to grow stronger with each passing year. They frequently shared their lives with the public, whether through social media or appearances on Daystar, where they opened up about their faith, their struggles, and their triumphs. For many, the Lambs represented the ideal Christian couple, strong in their faith, united in their purpose, and committed to each other and to their ministry. But as time went on, the pressures of running such a massive ministry began to take a toll on their relationship. Despite their public image of harmony and unity, behind the scenes, there were whispers of strain and tension. The demands of managing Daystar, coupled with the weight of their roles as public figures, placed immense stress on their marriage. Some speculated that the stress of balancing work, family, and ministry may have begun to take its toll on their relationship, though Marcus and Joni always maintained a solid front. While the Lambs continued to lead Daystar and grow its reach, there were signs that their personal lives were undergoing shifts that would soon become impossible to ignore. Their once unshakable partnership began to show cracks, and some began to question whether the pressures of the ministry, combined with personal struggles, would eventually affect their ability to stay together. Through it all, Marcus and Joni remained devoted to Daystar's mission and to each other, though the challenges they faced began to mount. The public saw them as the perfect couple, but the reality was that even the most steadfast relationships can be tested by time and circumstance. Their story is one of dedication, passion, and sacrifice, both for each other and for the ministry they built together.
This is a very special program because we are going to be sharing our heart with you today, and I just want to say right at the front, sweetheart, that you and I are strong, and I think that our marriage is better today than it has ever been.
You are just an absolute angel, and I am madly in love with you, and you mean so much to me.
However, I do want to share something with you, and it is this. About, several years ago, Marcus and I went through a challenge in our marriage, and I discovered that he was having an emotional relationship, if you will, with someone, and that it had turned into an improper relationship.
The story of how Joni Lamb destroyed the family and Doug's resentment. Joni Lamb and her family were once viewed as the epitome of Christian unity. For years, they were seen as the face of Daystar Television Network, a thriving ministry that Marcus and Joni built from the ground up. Together, they worked tirelessly to spread the message of faith and love, helping millions of people around the world. Their public image was one of strength, devotion, and unity. But behind closed doors, things were beginning to unravel. The problems in the Lamb family didn't happen overnight. As Daystar grew, so did the pressures that came with it. Marcus and Joni's once strong marriage began to face significant strain. Their professional lives started to dominate their personal lives, and the demands of running a global television network began to take a toll. The constant public scrutiny, the never-ending work, and the pressure to maintain the perfect family image began to create cracks in their relationship. But things took a turn for the worse when Joni's decisions began to cause a rift not only between her and Marcus, but also within the family. It was a slow burn, the kind of gradual deterioration that no one really notices until it's too late. Family members began to grow concerned about the way Joni was handling the leadership of Daystar. She was becoming more controlling, more focused on the network's success than on the family itself. It wasn't just about ministry anymore. It was about power, influence, and control. Doug Weiss, a longtime family friend and business associate, was one of the first to notice the changes in Joni. He had been close to the Lambs for years, but as Joni's behavior became more erratic, Doug found himself increasingly alienated. He had always respected Marcus and Joni for their work, but Doug couldn't ignore the growing tension that he saw in Joni's leadership style. He began to resent the way she was pushing others aside in her quest for more control over Daystar and the family business. The rift between Joni and Doug grew wider when Joni made some controversial decisions that Doug couldn't support. There were whispers that she was making financial moves that seemed suspicious, prioritizing Daystar's growth over the well-being of her own family. Doug, who had always been more reserved, started to feel the pressure mounting. He saw that Joni was becoming more isolated, cutting off the people who once helped her make key decisions. The once close-knit family dynamic began to dissolve, replaced by a tense atmosphere where everyone seemed to be walking on eggshells. Doug's resentment towards Joni grew as he witnessed her actions firsthand. He couldn't understand how she could be so focused on her empire while ignoring the damage it was doing to the family. He began to question her motives, wondering if her actions were driven by something deeper, perhaps a desire for power and control that had consumed her. He couldn't deny the truth that was staring him in the face. Joni's decisions were tearing the family apart. But it wasn't just Doug who felt the tension. Other members of the Lamb family also began to pull away, frustrated by Joni's increasing authoritarian approach to everything. Marcus, too, seemed to be retreating into himself, becoming more distant as his health declined. Some believed that Marcus's physical and emotional health was directly linked to the strain he felt from Joni's actions, though Joni herself never acknowledged this. As the family dynamic began to fracture, Doug's resentment boiled over. He couldn't stand by and watch Joni destroy everything they had built, and it became clear that he could no longer be part of a family business where he felt sidelined and disrespected. His frustration grew into anger, and he made the difficult decision to distance himself from the Lambs, even if it meant cutting ties with a family he had once considered his own. The anger he felt towards Joni was palpable. He saw her as the driving force behind the family's collapse, and he could no longer ignore the damage she was causing. The final straw came when Doug learned that Joni had made some major decisions without consulting anyone in the family, including Marcus. Doug felt that she had gone too far this time, acting as if she were the sole decision-maker, without regard for anyone else's input. In his eyes, this was the ultimate betrayal. It wasn't just about the business anymore. It was about family, trust, and respect. Joni had crossed a line, and Doug was done. The tension within the family reached a breaking point, and the Lambs' carefully curated public image began to crumble. As Doug distanced himself, the rest of the family followed suit, each member grappling with the fallout from Joni's increasingly domineering behavior. The family's unity, once so strong, was now a distant memory, replaced by a fractured, dysfunctional dynamic that no one could repair. Joni's actions had not only damaged her relationship with Doug, but had also caused irreparable harm to her relationship with her children and other family members. While the public continued to see the Lambs as a perfect family, behind closed doors, the cracks were widening. Doug's resentment towards Joni was just one piece of the puzzle, but it was a key moment in the downfall of what had once been a tightly knit family. The Lambs had built an empire, but in the process, they had lost something even more valuable: each other.
Now, please know that not only has Julie Roys been given all of the evidence and is writing a story that will be out soon, multiple national reporters have been given all of the evidence as of this afternoon. They should be reporting some stories that will be out in the news very shortly.
We never dreamed this would be our lives. We begged God for months and months that he would take it any other route. But we have to obey in the end. And if he says, you know what, you're the ones who have to speak, it's the harder road. It would have been easy to just walk away. But if he says, I'm calling you to do this, we have to do this. And it's been a challenge, but he has led us every step of the way, and he has given us so much peace. So I just want to encourage you, even though things will look horrible and it looks like turmoil, God always sees the bigger picture. And as long as we obey him, we stand in the truth, we tell the truth, he will take us through. And I know he will, but we do need, and thank you for your prayers, because all that said, it has still been a hard journey. So thank you.
Yeah, it's really been a long road of suffering, and it has not been easy, but we have stayed faithful and true to what God has called us to do.
Look at all the evidence, because a lot is coming out. God has taught us a lot in these last few years, and we've had to do some very difficult things, but there's a reason God told us to have this evidence. So I really encourage you to not just go by emotions or what you hear, but to look at the evidence.
It's been a long road of suffering, but eventually God brings all things to light in his time.
Gossip and speculation about the Lamb family. The Lamb family, once viewed as the epitome of Christian values, unity, and success, became the center of a storm of gossip and speculation after Marcus Lamb's sudden death. For years, they were a shining example of a strong Christian family, well-known, respected, and admired by millions. Together, they built Daystar, one of the largest Christian television networks in the world, spreading messages of faith, hope, and love. But after Marcus's passing, the glossy image of the Lamb family began to crack, and what had once been a symbol of unity turned into a subject of public fascination and suspicion. The rumors started shortly after Marcus's death. At first, it was a few whispers, small questions about the cause of his death and why it happened so suddenly. Officially, the family stated that Marcus had passed away from complications due to COVID-19, but there were whispers that the truth wasn't so clear-cut. Some speculated that Marcus had been battling other, more personal struggles that had been hidden from the public eye, perhaps issues with addiction or undisclosed health problems. His sudden death, in the eyes of some, raised questions about whether everything had been properly managed or whether there had been something more to the situation that the public wasn't being told. As the family dealt with the loss of Marcus, the attention shifted from his death to the way the family, particularly Joni Lamb, was handling things. The way Joni was taking charge of Daystar after Marcus's passing became a point of contention. Many noticed that Joni seemed to be moving quickly, taking control of the network without much consultation from the rest of the family. Some even claimed that she was pushing aside her children and other close family members, making decisions without input from those who had been with her and Marcus for years. The suspicion grew that Joni's actions were not entirely driven by grief, but by a desire for power and control over Daystar, something that would create deep rifts within the family. The gossip surrounding Joni's leadership became even louder when she made the controversial decision to marry Doug Weiss, a man who had recently divorced his wife. The public was stunned by this relationship, especially given the timing, just months after Marcus's death. Whispers about the legitimacy of the relationship spread quickly, with some claiming that Joni was using her position at Daystar to advance her own personal life at the expense of the family's legacy. Others questioned the motivations behind Doug's sudden rise to prominence within the ministry, speculating that he was using Joni and her influence to further his own career. But it wasn't just the marriage that fueled the rumors. People began to notice that the Lamb family seemed more fractured than ever. Joni's children, particularly her son, Jonathan Lamb, appeared distant and uneasy around their mother. It was as if the unity that had once defined the family was now unraveling in front of the public's eyes. Some speculated that Jonathan and his siblings resented how quickly their mother had moved on from their father's death, while others believed there were deeper, more personal grievances at play, grievances that the family wasn't ready to air in public. The tension between Joni and her family grew when Jonathan and his wife Susie reportedly refused to support Joni's marriage to Doug publicly. This was seen as a clear sign of the deep divide within the family. The refusal to support Joni's second marriage caused an eruption in the Lamb family, and the fallout became a topic of endless speculation. Some claimed that Jonathan and Susie were simply acting out of concern for their mother's well-being, but others believed they were trying to protect the family's reputation and legacy. The more the public speculated, the more the Lamb seemed to retreat into silence, fueling even more rumors. As the weeks went on, the media continued to dig deeper into the family's dynamics. The Lamb's decision to stay silent only made the situation worse. The absence of answers from the family led many to conclude that there were major issues behind the scenes. Was Joni's leadership of Daystar really in the best interest of the family, or was it all about her desire for control? Why were her children so distant? What was the true nature of her relationship with Doug Weiss, and what was driving it? The gossip didn't stop with the Lamb family's internal struggles. Fans of Daystar, once supportive of the network and its leaders, began to question their loyalty. Was the Lamb family truly living by the values they preached, or was there a darker side to their success? Some felt betrayed by what seemed like an overreach of personal ambition on Joni's part, while others supported her decision to move forward, arguing that she had the right to rebuild her life after Marcus's death. The tension between those who supported Joni and those who believed the family had lost its way only added fuel to the growing rumors. Despite the speculation, there were no clear answers from the Lamb family. Joni remained silent, refusing to address the rumors head-on, and her children seemed reluctant to speak out publicly. This left fans, critics, and the media to fill in the blanks, creating an atmosphere of uncertainty and distrust around Daystar and the Lamb family. The once unshakable foundation of the family and their ministry was now cracked, and the questions only grew louder. Could the Lamb family recover from the damage caused by these public disputes, or would the legacy they had built for decades come crumbling down? The truth behind the Lamb family's struggles remained hidden in the shadows, and until they were ready to speak, the gossip and speculation would continue to swirl. The family's future, and Daystar's role in the Christian media world, now seemed uncertain. Could they repair their fractured relationships and rebuild their legacy, Or would they forever be defined by the drama and controversy that surrounded their personal lives? Only time would tell, but for now the gossip continued to reign, and the Lamb family's once pristine image seemed forever tarnished.